It seems almost unfathomable to think of getting a 1,083% raise, but it happens, and we're proof of it. And when you look deeper into this next football season, I want y'all's participation, but I want to kick it off with one name that I think we need to all know very quickly, right around the corner, and more.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, y'all, and hello, all. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily stop for all things Cowboy and Cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall. I want to thank you kindly for stopping by to make this your first listen here on Locked On Oklahoma State. We're available on all of your podcasting platforms of whatever you're choosing, as well as YouTube. You can find me on Twitter at AllDayOState. I'll also throw this out on Twitter today because it's participation time. As we're getting ready for spring football and we're going to dive into every single position battle on the field, I want to kick it off to all of you guys, right? Because you kind of drive the show. So let me know down in the comments, what positions are you guys more focused on? And again, I'll also put this out on Twitter, and we'll end up doing like a poll type of thing. So you guys are the ones who kind of help kick off all of the position stuff that we go over. But I do want to talk about our new co-defensive coordinator, Bryan Nardo, and his, yes, you heard me, 1,083% raise. This is off of Football Scoop. That's pretty significant, going from making $60,000 a year to $650,000 a year. Now, most of you already know my thoughts on this subject. I am a pretty big believer of Bryan Nardo, not only because of all of the continuity that we have coming back, especially from the coaching staff. That continuity does mean something. Now, do I completely buy into some of Gundy's, a quarterback has to be here for 3 years before he gets everything and it can be super successful? No, I don't exactly buy into that. But there is no substitute for quality reps, right? Repetitions on the field against top-notch opponents is something you cannot replicate. No matter how crazy you go in practice, it is what it is. So the benefit now of having that many snaps played, I think we're going to finally be able to see it show out. And if you have all of the coaches returning, and now you add this guy that we know has had to evolve his recruiting game from, again, the same concept of hearing 130 no's before you hear 10 yeses. When you're coaching at the smaller levels, you're doing the recruiting, knowing you're fighting an uphill battle. So if you have any concerns about him being able to get into doors, living rooms, that's not going to be an issue. And to be able to correlate everything properly between the staff themselves, the game plan, and the players, I think it's going to be fairly seamless. That's the point of having Coach Joe Bob and Coach Duffy and Coach Hammerschmidt and Coach Greg Richmond. The point of them all coming back to be able to jump in, basically hit the ground running, while Bryan Nardo has the ability to kind of learn along as we go. So while he's growing all of the recruiting and building those relationships and being able to adapt to different systems, not just because we want to run a 3-3-5. Yes, we're in love with that. We have been for quite some time. We've tried to kind of put this whole thing together before. And again, guys, I've talked about it on the Twitter Spaces. He is one of the guys that came in from Emporia that was responsible for stealing Lindell Johnson, one of our big-time safeties back in the day. And he had 98 tackles in a couple years. So he played a lot, and he was going to be a very big part of what we had moving forward. And Bryan Nardo was able to develop that relationship and get him to go to Emporia State. So building relationships and finding a way to make everybody understand on the same page at the same time is going to be, I think, I don't want to say massive, right? I don't want to overplay that hand, but I think it's going to be really good. You know, and you guys have heard it from the horse's mouth, right? When we've had people like Xavier Benson and Justin Wright on the show, the aggressiveness of this team due to not only the athleticism and the speed, but how many snaps they have been able to play on the field together, mixed in with these coaches having all of these years, multiple years, not together, individually at Oklahoma State University. They understand everything from a cultural fit and how it works. Are there sometimes limitations? I do think we hinder ourselves. And you guys have heard my thoughts on that as well. But I also want to focus right now on just the first player of the year. Obviously, you guys can see the ticker. Guys, DeSean Brown is the guy who really stands out to me. That could be just absolutely incredible. Yes, he has a wide receiver number, so you don't see that every day by any stretch of the imagination. But the dude's just an animal, and we're gonna dive into why I think he's gonna be somebody that's not only a diamond in the rough, but he wasn't really in the rough that much, as we'll get into a little bit more. Before we do, you guys, we got to talk about FanDuel. This has been a partner that, whenever you're doing this job and you see the amount of partners that get involved and to see the status that they are, it's just absolutely incredible. And FanDuel legitimately fits that bill, right? In the evolutionary process of darn near anything, you have to be happy with the product. You have to be comfortable with the product. You have to have the relationship that allows you to build upon everything. And we have exactly that with FanDuel, which is why right now I need you guys, if you're not already, be a new customer. Be a part of this no sweat first bet. It's up to $1,000. Because right now, guys, we're halfway through the NBA season. We're going to be talking about college basketball as well, because March Madness is just, it is what it is. It's March Madness. It's absolute insanity. But right now, get the no sweat first bets up to $1,000. That's bonus bets and $1,000 equivalency if your first bet does not win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It is safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from money lines, point scores, 3-point range. I mean, you get the drill. And FanDuel lets you combine your bets for a chance at bigger payouts and same-game parlays. So don't miss the chance right now to get your hands on this no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets back when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That is FanDuel.com/lockedon. Go there now to learn more. Make every moment matter more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook betting partner of the NBA. All right, y'all. So, yes, DeSean Brown. Not only is it just a size thing, right? So whenever you show up anywhere and you're already, as a true freshman, 6'3", 6'4", 260, you're literally a specimen of an individual. You're a massive dude. And then he has the speed and athleticism to go alongside of it. It makes him just an absolute gem. And this is how we thrive, right? We thrive in the system of those 3-star guys that you build up. But this kid is unique, right? We talk about Oklahoma State and the Cowboy culture and just the quality culture in itself all the time, right? And in that, sometimes I do think that we, push ourselves in a corner from always maximizing the best talent in the world. But when we get these guys, right, again, we're all about peeling back some of the layers of the onion and seeing the success, not only now, but in the future. And not only was this dude coming in hot with offers with Michigan And OU is heavily involved there at the end. Oregon really wanted to get their hands on this guy. Arizona State, Iowa State, Texas Tech, Arkansas. The list goes on. Because, again, it's not just about the size with this guy. He has all of the talent in the world. Here's the rub. You ready? We know he's going to fit in the Cowboy culture because we know how much we put into evaluation of talent and character. So this is really one we're swinging for the fences here. But are we, though? Whenever you have people like Michigan and OU and Oregon and all these heavy hitters involved in the recruiting process that want their hands on their kid, it's odd that we're talking about this guy being a diamond in the rough as a hidden 3-star. But it is what it is because he was, as a kid, right, a reckless 16, 17-year-old kid being crazy, driving a car, trying to be, who knows, not paying attention. And there's a tragedy that took place, and his car was involved, and he had to go through this youth adjudication type of program, and he's still having to go through parts of it now. But in the process of figuring out what kind of kid this was, everybody, all of these people lined up because, you talk about second chances all the time. And this is precisely what we're doing. So it is odd that this was something that took place that hindered his recruiting as far as a rankings and starter standpoint very early on. But if you look at the film, you see why this 3-star evaluation it's kind of perplexing. But then you have to dive a little bit deeper. And we know, historically speaking, our staff does a really good job about looking into all these types of things. And are they going to be a cultural fit? Because if not, he clearly had several suitors. So I think that's one of the people that we're going to see on the defensive line this year, not only make a massive difference, but be somebody that you didn't really know a lot about coming in. Because, again, he's the traditional 3-star guy that you get. You do the body by glass system, right? And a few years into it, a couple of years into it, he's not only ready to go, but he's blossoming, kind of like a Brock Martin, right? You could even throw a Sione Asi in there as well. But he's already coming in with all the tools and all the size and all the speed and all the athleticism. And if we know that is as much as everybody else did all their investigations in this kid, if we're right, that's why it's a diamond in the rough. That's why it's a home run, because it is a risk, right? If you're willing to be reckless, you never know what's going to happen in the future. But this is an opportunity for this kid to really show, right, what growth is. And I think it's nice for us as a defense as well, because, again, we are losing some pieces. Some of those veterans that have been around forever and a day, they're gone. We have a lot of depth. We have somebody like an Aiden Kelly as well that, I think we're all going to be talking about throughout the course of the season. But this is just one person that I think right now we can highlight, athletically speaking. And here it is, guys. He's already had the year of body by glass. So that's done. So now we get to see, as this spring kind of starts to pour in, what he adds. And then we're going to have to slide right now, because we do know that basketball is top of mind, as some great person once said. It's top of mind because March Madness was right around the corner. And from our perspective, we know we're going to be in the dance. As long as we don't completely fall flat on our face, and realistically speaking, guys, as long as we play even 500 basketball from here on out, we're fine. It's more important about the number of the seed that we get for the Big 12 tournament than it is for the NCAA tournament, as far as the men's side goes. And the women's side, I don't think people are necessarily paying attention to the fact that women have crept up to being the number 3 spot in the Big 12. And men's, we're still hanging at that 6-7 area. Again, that is fine, because the Big 12 tournament seeding is going to be more difficult than the seed that you get in the NCAA tournament. The Big 12 is the juggernaut of all of college basketball for a reason. Again, the debate can be made that you can get 10 people in. Is it going to happen? We know politically, no, bureaucratically, something's going to get involved. It's not going to happen. Getting 9 in, not only is it a conversation, West Virginia's even proven recently that it should happen. it should be an opportunity where the bureaucratic side of it doesn't even need to get involved. Because if you're looking for the best 68 teams to play the game of basketball to capitalize, even if it's a monetary thing from the NCAA, fine, make it about that. That's cool. But from a monetary side, you're going to want the best talent on the field, on the court, all at the same time. So we're one of the top 68 teams in the country right now. I mean, we're top 35, even if we continue to trip and fall a little bit. We discussed a little bit yesterday why the defense was going to suffer, and we knew it was potentially going to suffer with the loss of Avery Anderson. It wasn't so much about the offense, right? The entire time it was about what he provides being the on-ball defender out there. And now we lose that. So that reverts over to a Caleb Asbury, right? And Caleb Asbury, we know his athleticism jumps off the charts when he feels like it. But he cannot be as aggressive anymore, even though he still has Caleb Boone behind him, even though he still has Musa Cisse behind him. He cannot run up there and be as aggressive as it was with Avery Anderson on the floor. So now it's a time where we get to see, can Coach Mike Boynton find his way around this? Right? We've talked all season about how the expectations grew because the success grew. And then with that success, you also got to take into consideration, well, we're finally here and he's been here for 6 years. So is this that year? And it really is hard to fathom that one injury can cause this two-game derailment. That's all it is. Now, getting your head drug on the court by West Virginia in Morgantown, it's not fun, not a good look. But it's the first time we've got destroyed in weeks, guys. So how does Mike Boynton rebound from this? I mean, this is going to be a quintessential moment for him in his coaching journey because now he has to do it with less. But again, this NCAA suspension last year is part of this. We don't have the deep bench that you need, especially going into postseason play. When foul trouble pops up, it's going to be a difficult proposition. And teams have figured out a way to exploit some of these weaknesses. And it's sad that the weaknesses aren't physical, right? Athletically, we're fine. Even without Avery Anderson, we're still the second, maybe third most athletic team in the conference, which means we're one of the top 10 most athletic teams in the country still. But how do we adjust defensively? Are we going to be able to run a zone style of defense that's still aggressive enough to not only take away some of the outside stuff, but prevent the middle? Because teams have figured out this way to get around Caleb Boone. So now, again, we're talking about Coach Mike Boynton and working with the bigs. This is an opportunity for a coaching, revolutionary process. We're going to be able to see it, but what part of the chess match, right, does Caleb Boone play in this equation? What part of the chess match does Musa Cisse play into this equation? Yeah, his 8 points from Musa the last game were helpful, but as we saw, if John Michael Wright's putting up 18 and Bryce Thompson putting up 18, 19, and we're getting 10, 7, 11 from Caleb Asbury, the scoring side of it is not a major issue. It's the defensive side of the ball that is a problem. We don't have the shooting to bail us out when we're lacking defensively. And we haven't seen this lapse in defense until the last few games. So this is something new. It's legitimately happening, unfortunately, at the worst time of the year because you really want to be humming right now, just like West Virginia is doing, going from last place to playing their way into that 6-7 spot as well, which is, again, why this 9 teams getting in is not only a conversation, but it's almost probable at this time. Like 8's a done deal. Okay, cool. So who's in that 9th conversation? You don't want it to be you, right? Because that puts you in a terrible seed, maybe at 14, 15. But it is what it is. If you get into the dance and you're prepared by the talent you've already faced, then it's not a big deal. And then the women's side of it, it continues to blow my mind how fun they are to watch. And what a blessing somebody like J.C. Hoyt has been. I mean, catching Iowa State right? Who was 17-7 going into the game. So they were projected again to be, in the upper echelon from the very get-go. Meanwhile, we were projected to be 9th place in the conference. The fun part about the women's team is we can always talk about statistics, right? When you put yourself in a position to be successful, yada, yada, yada. When you're shooting, you ready for this? 66% from the three-point line, you're probably going to win like 96% of your games. That's how that math works out for the women's side of it. And then even 44, 45% from the field's fine. 72% from the free throw line's not great. I mean, heck, for the women's team, I wouldn't even call it good. For the men's team, yeah, sure. Sometimes we can become the epitome of abysmal at the free throw line on the men's side of things. I kind of wish some of the old Eddie Sutton days would be allowed where we could throw these dudes in football pads and practice on the court for a few days. How would that not pull the love out of the name in the court, Eddie Sutton? I mean, hell, the women's squad has a lot of things figured out. And unlike the men's squad, they go very deep. And they've proven, whether it be the leader, Naomi Alnadas, whether she has to come in and drop 18, 20 points. Taylon Collins has done nothing but be a massive surprise week in, week out, week in, week out. And again, the connection there is fun because her dad was on the 95 Final Four team. So imagine watching this stuff from his perspective. He gets to watch his daughter in a Cowgirl uniform on the court that he went to the Final Four on. And not only is she an integral part of the team, but she's been pretty dominant lately. We all know that we still have Anna Grassi, the sharpshooter from outside, and Loyor Garzon, who was leading three-point categories all season and still does have a decent, massive amount of contribution when needed. But we can also bang down low, right? We haven't even talked enough, I don't think, about Taryn Milton, or the fact that Cassidy DeLap's come back from an injury and gone from somebody who was in the background to being pretty integral and to the amount of success you can have at the end of a season. So we have the women's squad that is, going at the right trajectory at the right time. Thank you, JC Hoyt. Make sure we pay that lady, right? Is this our Lance Leipold for women's basketball? It appears as it could really be that. Is Mike Boynton good enough right now in this moment to find a different way to use the big men? Because all of our success this season was coming from when we were starting everything from down low. When you had this stretch of 10, 12 games, when Caleb Boone is throwing up 15, 18, 22, 25 points on a night in, night out, night in basis. And that was while Moussa Cisse was injured. So now we get Moussa Cisse back, even though he's not 100%. Okay, he's fine, 90%. But we're not exploiting the weaknesses that we did for so long this season. And we know it cannot be because of one guy. Offensively, we see that. So the question is, defensively, what do we do? Do we have to go with a smaller lineup? If we go with a smaller lineup, can the smaller lineup hold up without getting into, significant amount of foul trouble? Because if that happens, then it doesn't matter, right? All of these questions just go crazy. But it's amazing that they're third place with a legitimate shot at potentially creeping up a little bit higher. And the men's team, everything's still right ahead of them. This is a big moment for Mike Boynton. And you get a very, very hot Kansas State squad in Gallagher-Iba. And we're talking about third place. Okay, K-State's third place in the men's side, which is why they're a top 15, top 10 caliber team right now. So I hope that we're able to pack this thing out, get back behind these dudes, because, again, everything's still ahead of us. As long as you're in the conversation of this 5-6 spot, you're fine. You're absolutely fine. You can go 500 from here on out, and we're just fine. Baseball continues to show that we're going to have an interesting season. Now, are we still a top 15 squad? Absolutely. We proved that with, again, we talked yesterday about Kisio, Jensen Kisio, throwing 5 1/3 to help with the no-hitter to beat a very quality baseball team the other day and California Baptist. And now we get a 3-game series with Loyola Marymount. Due to some weather type stuff, we're going to do a doubleheader Saturday and then obviously do the finish up of the series on Sunday before we go on the road to Missouri State. We got Austin Peay. We got Arizona State. And then it gets hot and heavy, guys. Then it's Dallas Baptist, Texas Tech, Wichita State, Baylor, Dallas Baptist again, Texas, Wichita State, TCU, Oral Roberts, the gauntlet of baseball, which is a cool part about being a fan right now. We've talked ad nauseum about how it's a great time to be an O State fan. And this is why. Every sport on campus is not only meaningful, but productive. So it makes it fun to watch. It makes it fun to cheer for. So here we are in position at both the hoop side of things to make a major run. And as I said yesterday, I encourage people, have fun with this Big 12 tournament because everybody knows that you're gonna make a bracket. It's the funnest part of the year. It's like Christmas. And we're going to be a part of the discussion on both ends. And if you know a decent amount about the Big 12, you're going to have a decent bracket, regardless of how you slice it. So let's roll into this with a little bit more bravado, right? We did just go 8. We won 7 of 8. We won 6 in a row. We're at this integral time again to make an impact. And I think we're there. So, guys, again, jump in the comments. Hit me up on Twitter. Let me know what position battle do you think we should break down first. And if you have any other players that you think we should cover, like a DeSean Brown, that could be a standout, feel free to do the like, share, subscribe, comment, all that fun jazz. So I think that's all we got for this one. Thank you, guys. Thank you, FanDuel. As always, I love you all. God bless. Go Pokes. And we will do this again tomorrow. All righty, y'all. Let me know what you want to do, and we'll cover everything, every position. And also, let me know about what you think about Bryan Nardo's 1,083% raise. All righty, y'all.